am live. Yes, we're live. Morning and welcome back to the channel. This morning, Celtic News, we're going to talk about Callum McGregor. We're going to talk about Callum McGregor. We're going to talk about a player that is, he'll be lucky to get back for Thursday afternoon, I reckon. So I think he might be doubtful getting back from Honduras. It's going to be some journey back. Talk about Kyogo playing, and we'll talk about Brendan Rodgers also. Let's just do a little bit of update and just see who's all online. That's no excuse, Bas. Come on. Yep, been far too to do, unfortunately. But we're back. We're back. Right, let's get to some Celtic news of the day. I'm going. I never usually talk about Scotland games or that, but I noticed that the media have in Scotland the only player that they rated was Callum McGregor. And the Daily Record gave him a 5, saying looked like being an off night for a 30-year-old. Football Scotland says Callum McGregor 5. Another like Gilmer who won't be overly happy with his performance. The Herald 6 took a bit of time to get into the game. But you could say about plenty of his teammates, and he tried to get his foot in the ball and pick passes, create different angles to start movements. The Sun, Callum McGregor 7, won his 55th cap. Graham Souness, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Who cares? You notice I don't only have a dig at Callum, but anyway, who cares? Let's get some mornings in first. John O'Neill, morning. Kieran, morning. Richard, good morning from Tenerife. Did you like the picture that we put up of the Hoops Bar in Tenerife in the community tab this morning? Yes, it's Michael Beale when he was in the Hoops Bar in Tenerife. That should wind up the natives. Right, let's get to more Celtic news. The Honduras player that is obviously been playing his country, Luis Palma, he is going to face a struggle to get back in time. It looks like he's not going to get back. I mean, he was playing Wednesday morning, and our time it's 3:10 in the morning that the game kicks off. Trying to get back. Do you know, Wednesday, Thursday? What day is this anyway? This is Wednesday. He'll be lucky to get back to Glasgow tomorrow night. Will one day training be enough for Palma? Or does it look like Yang will get the nod this weekend? I probably think Yang will get the nod this weekend personally over Lewis Palma. Yang will be back in Glasgow on Wednesday for training Thursday, so I think that's the route they'll go. Kyogo obviously played in the game yesterday for Japan, and the translation goes, unfortunately, Kyogo did not score, but he was fascinated by how many of the ball manoeuvres that he had. He says he tried so many times to create space and movement for his team, his national teammates. Says fans were well aware of this. He will continue to support your efforts in the league and Champions League. Kyogo played 70 minutes, and then Dyson Maida came on and played the second half, which is good for them. And it's not a long trip back to Glasgow for them. Also, Brendan Rodgers has been talking about hail from Germany. Get in there. No hands were in the Scotland team. Talking about one hunt, first time live. Quinny, get in there. Go on yourself. Was it actually him? Mark. Who about the news can have a dig at Rangers player? Wasn't any playing. Anyway. Take it the mould, didn't they? Right, get back to the news, Baz. Brendan Rodgers has been talking about Nat Phillips. He says Nat Phillips is in training with the squad. Hopefully he'll be available for the weekend. Cameron Carter-Vickers is great news. He'll be back in early October. That means come the international break in October, I expect that Cameron Carter-Vickers will probably come back after that. Marco Tilo, the missing man. He's back training with the squad, although it's going to take him a little bit of time to get up to speed, says Brendan. The squad's looking healthier as we go forward, and hopefully a return for more of these players will be really good for us. Went on to saying psychologically the win last weekend will be absolutely fantastic. Brendan says, look, the players won't play at too many more stadiums where the atmosphere will be like that for them, but we showed that we could cope. The first half we kept the ball and we looked dangerous. going forward. We had a couple of opportunities to score. When that happens, you're away from home. You're under pressure. This is I'm giving you a nod to what might happen in the Champions League. I think he understands that the league, you're never going to get that in the league again. Well, another once this season, if there's no away fans, because Rangers won't change their mind. He says, look, going forward, he says if we're in that position again, well, we won't have as many injuries. But the guys that performed on the day did absolutely brilliant, says Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers went on to say he was so pleased with so many aspects, knowing that going forward we will become better as the season grows. It's interesting that he brought in a comparison to when the team lost in Gibraltar his first time round, and I remember that was just unbelievable. But he said the catalyst. Brendan says if you look at the St Mirren game, St Johnston game, sorry, if you look at the St Johnston game, the St Johnston game will be a catalyst for the team going forward. And I think that's what will drive the team on this season. It says, look, when we look back in a couple of months, when we look back at the end of the season, dropping those points at home and then going on with the way that they played at Ibrox, he says you can see that game will be the catalyst. Let's get some of the comments. Take it the mold and finish. If you've seen the mole, he's actually in the community tab of the channel this morning and pictured in the Hoops bar in Tenerife. Champions League looks like scales at the back. Left back, Burnley checking out. Yep. Morning troops. Blue Bear. Nice to see you subscribed. Don't mind the international break as long as Scotland's are winning. Buzzing for Saturday. I stopped watching Scotland games years ago, to be honest. I did watch the first half last night, and then we turned it over. I watched the final episode of Game of Thrones, because it's the first time I'm watching Game of Thrones. Anyway, I have to leave them to it. Leave them to it. I'm leaving them in. Just leaving them in. He's subscribed to the channel, so I'm leaving them in. Anyway, when do you think you got your tip hat? The boys won at Ibrox. Yeah, Andy, you're right. I mean, the one against all odds. Let's face it, because the team was absolutely devastated with injuries. It has been for weeks. The fact that we put a makeshift defence together, and if you told us at the beginning of the last season that that's the team that we're going to be going with at Ibrox, everyone in their horse. I mean, before the game, everyone was like, "You're having a laugh." He's playing the same team that he did last week. And we managed it. So going forward, we can't complain at anything that the manager's done. Unlike the other side, who are absolutely berating their manager. And if you look at the community tab, he has been pictured in the Hoops bar in Tenerife. Anyway, it was pure brilliant to hear the English anthem booed. Um, Errolman Barton, you're to the tune of "You're Not Rangers Anymore." Oh my goodness. Bluebell, what's your plans for Tuesday, Wednesday evening, and most Saturdays going forward? Giggles, absolute giggles. Let's get some more Celtic news, because I am going to stay on for about 15 minutes this morning, take up too much of your time. Rocco Vata, the player that has not signed a new contract at Celtic, and I'm just worried that he's another youth player that's going to walk for absolutely nothing. I mean, Celtic will get some form of compensation, but they really should. If he's not going to sign a contract, they should have sold him in the summer. He did score 2 goals playing for the Ireland under-21s against San Marino. So that's good news for him, but he really needs to. It doesn't look like he's going to get the step up into the first team, because he's obviously said, "Look, I'll decide where I'm going," and this is what's coming out of Celtic that we're hearing. He's basically said he could have been sold in the summer, but he wanted to decide where he plays next, which the club should have just said, "Look, you're getting sold," but then he's got to agree contract details. So it is all the ball's in his court. So he's basically getting left in the B team. Let's get back to the comments. I think Saturday will be for Bernardo and Palma to get some game time, help them settle into the club. Yes, definitely. The fact that Bernardo was playing for the Portuguese team, I think you're right there. I think that would be a good one just to get them in. But San Marino, can you point that out in the map? Good morning, troops. Can't wait until Saturday. I'll be at the game, says Lanky. Morning, Lanky. How are you this morning? Right, gives a quick recap of the news, Celtic news this morning. Kyogo played 70 minutes for Japan. Dyson came on in the second half. Two of them got a relatively easy journey back home to Celtic Park. If not today, well, they would have been back either last night or today. They'll definitely be in training tomorrow. Brendan Rodgers has been talking about the players that have been out injured. One thing he's been talking about Reo Hatate. Reo Hatate is back on the grass training, which we're all pretty chuffed about. Reo Hatate is probably one of the most important players for us in the middle of the park. Last season, he says, Brendan Rodgers says, look, his energy has been really good. He's worked really hard since he picked up that injury at Aberdeen. I'm really pleased that he's back. Nat Phillips is also training with the squad. Hopefully he'll be available for the weekend. Cameron Carter-Vickers won't be back until after the next international break is done and dusted. He's back on the grass, but it's just about time. Marco, the missing man, he's back training with the squad, although it will take him a little bit more time to get up to speed. Look, we're in the middle of September. Why was this guy signed if he was such a bad injury that was going to keep him out basically a quarter of the season? That's what it's looking like. Marco's going to be out at least quarter of the season, and then he'll struggle. He's not in the Champions League squad. He'll struggle to get game time. Is he going to be another James Forrest? That's my only worry. Not even James Forrest. Mikey Johnson. Mikey Johnson, another winger that just spends time with Celtic and really doesn't get a game. Mikey Johnson's obviously there just for the fact that he's Celtic and Scottish. So with that being said, there's not much more news about this morning. I'm so glad international break is over. Your screen keeps freezing. It's maybe your sound. How's Spain? Spain this morning is a little bit cloudy, but it's probably not. It won't last long. It never does last long at this time of year. Wasn't injured when we signed him. He was injured. He hasn't even had a pre-season. Do you know, he never got injured in pre-season at all. He never played pre-season, so he hasn't played a single minute for us. I think that's why Brendan says that Marco will get. They knew he knew he had a slight injury, but tell a slight injury. Let him go. The Vata under the bridge. On that note, that's it. I'm done and dusted for the day. That was one of the worst jokes ever. You just be Vata under the bridge. Not as good as he thinks. Lanky's coming up with his team already. He's coming up with his team already. Nowhere near the Wednesday Night Live, never mind the Friday Night Live. He's coming out with Hart, Alistair Johnson, Carter-Vickers, Gustav, Taylor, Calmac, O'Reilly, Ohm, Yang, Kyogo, Maida. That's his lineup for Saturday. Scotland is great today. No freeze up here, says Tamak. Yeah, I know. It's probably someone's internet connection. So, with that being said, have a fantastic morning. I will be doing a live this evening around about 5:15 Celtic Park time. We'll get a catch up and see what he's all been doing and talk about Celtic and see what we think might happen to some of the players that come back from international duty. And we'll have a talk about the Champions League squad. And the honest mistake that I made with the Champions League squad. Cameron Carter-Vickers won't be fit until October. He'll not be back until after the international break. Big Dom. Right. That's me done and dusted. I shall see you this evening. Have a fantastic day, Celtic.